Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome. I do hope you decide to subscribe, and if you are a returning subscriber, you guys know that I love you. Thanks for stopping by once again. It's so good to have you here. So today's video is something that is trending on TikTok called African Math. And basically Africans have been jumping on it to talk about some stereotypes. Let's say stereotypic behavior, or basically belief that all Africans do, some things that we just do that is unique to Africans. Now, African math is not the only one that is trending. There's been boy math, girl math, Caribbean math, black math, and believe me, I'm going to make other episodes where we're going to discuss Caribbean math and black math. Okay, so a lot of African TikTokers jumped on this to talk about what they know as African math, African parent math, African family math. Let me just go right ahead and play some of the videos.
So we've been talking about girl math, boy math. Leave all that alone. Let's get into African parents math. If you get a B on something, you failed. If you're not first in your class, you're last. If you got a 95 on a test, that means you could have gotten the other 5. If you throw away leftovers, you're showing God disrespect. If you're sick and you smile, that means you're cured.
Okay, so we have girl math, we have boy math, we have black math, and we have white math. But I'm bringing on African math. African math is somebody asking you how many siblings you have, and you have to count all the siblings that you have between your parents and the children that your father had outside of wedlock. African math is having nieces and nephews that are older than you.
Yeah.
African math is having family members ask you for money while you're in varsity when they know damn well that you're going to school and are not making any money. You don't have a job. African math is having random family members ask if you remember them, but the last time they saw you was at your parents' funeral and you were like 6. African math is having such a huge age difference between you and your siblings that people just assume they're your parent instead of your sibling. African math is your family members asking you when you're getting married when they told you your entire life to stay away from boys.
Like, really? You see that one about having siblings that are old enough to even pass as your parents? That usually happens because, especially in like our parents' generation, in the previous generations before us, it's because they get married so early. My grandmother got married at 16. Or rather, she got married at 15 and had my dad at 16. And she had 8 children. So her last child is young enough to even pass as my father's daughter, because my father is the first child. So the age gap between both of them, my dad said he had already left home after school, like he was done with primary, secondary school, like he was already at the university level when his mom took in for the last child. So obviously when you see the both of them, he's old enough to actually father his mother's youngest child. Like, that happens a lot in African homes.
African math is sending thousands of money back home for a house to be built only to come back to no house or somebody else's house.
My sister, thank you. In fact, let me even add to your list. African maths is being the top in your class but never helping your child when you claim to have scored A-star. African maths is sending money back home to people who you don't even know. African maths is beating your child and apologizing by cooking jollof rice. African maths is inviting people you don't know to your wedding. African maths is blaming everything on the devil. You've crashed your car. Oh, the devil is after me. No evil spirit against me shall prosper. Next time, indicate you want to merge lanes and you didn't indicate. Now you've crashed and it's somehow the devil's fault. Did he tell you to do I'm like this and you follow through? Now you sabi. African maths is holding your children hostage inside the house because your spirit said outside is dangerous. African maths is being loud and wrong. And on top of that, you're using Bible verses to guilt trip your children. African maths is planning things last minute and expecting everyone to be available. African maths is over-exaggerating every little thing. 24/7, you're doing up Nollywood actress. You've come back from work. Small plate I didn't wash is making you hyperventilate like a dog, as if I'm trying to kill you. Hapumaka. African maths is snapping picture everywhere you go like one tourist, and the pictures end up looking like this. And finally,
our parents are on that table. All my aunties and uncles, okay, they are better now, but like then their profile pictures, their pictures on Facebook, the angles are terrible. They don't smile. They'll be like, no, every African can probably relate to that. Like, really?
you guys aren't even ready for this one. Omo, this one self is even the E=MC² of African maths. If you're African, I know you're very aware of this formula. Are you ready? long hair plus earring equals gay.
Long hair plus earring equals gay. Oh, Yahoo boy. Maybe you're a hoodlum. You're a criminal.
African math is sending thousands of money back home for a house to be built only to come back to no house or somebody else's house. African math is sending money back home when you're asked of it only to be called a witch anyway, and when you stop sending money back home, you're called a witch anyway again. Thank you. African math is having your grandparents ask you for money, knowing very well they have children twice or even thrice your age who's been working for like 2 decades.
Yo, not even your grandparents, your aunties and uncles will ask you for money when they have their own children. And the shocker is that these aunties and uncles don't even know anything about you. It's not like they help train you in school or they cared enough about you to even be calling you from time to time to check up on you. No, none of that. They're entitled to your money simply because they are related to your parents. They really don't. They really don't have any actual relationship with you. They have their own children though. Their children can be abroad making dollars and pounds, but you will give them your money. They expect you to.
But you're the one they asking for money, not okay. African math is mother-in-laws treating their daughter-in-laws badly, but expecting their daughters to be treated well in somebody else's home. African math is expecting your wife to only visit your side of the family, so the man's side of the family, and not visit her side of the family. Yet you have daughters and you expect that when they grow up and get married, they should visit you, but you don't even allow your wife to visit her side of the family. That much.
Yeah, that doesn't really happen in every African home. I've not really seen that much too. I guess it happens for some people. I'm not going to invalidate that.
African math is when you're poor, you cannot speak up at the family functions. You're not a key decision maker. You're not a stakeholder. You shut up. You sit down. You shut up. I can't with it. African math is the less you say, the better your life will be. African math is taking 90 business days to process and share good news to other people. African girl math is announcing your pregnancy when the child is 48 months. Kenyan math is traveling back home to Kenya as a dark-skinned woman and only getting good treatment because they can tell you live abroad, you have an abroad passport, and you have a foreign accent.
That's obviously personal to her because she's Kenyan and she has a foreign accent. Overall, anybody with a foreign accent in Africa is treated good. That's just the truth, because they believe you have money, you're exposed, you're intelligent, you're living large, you know.
African math is when nobody accepts to carry your child in church or in the bus because your child has typical African features like dark skin, big nose, big lips, and nappy hair. But then everybody is rushing to carry a child in church or in the bus that has typical European features like tiny lips, pointed nose, and curly hair, and light skinned. African math is when the husband to your daughter cooks or clean and then he's considered romantic and then you rain praises on him. But when your son's wife asks your son to cook and clean, she is considered manipulative or disrespectful. African math is when a black man marries a white woman and suddenly he becomes domesticated. He does all the house chores, he carries the children, he changes diapers. But when he marries an African woman, he says, no, this is not a man's job. A man is there to lead. African math is when you as an African lady can marry a 70-year-old white man who is old enough to be your father. But then when a black man who is as much as just 15 years older than you, you scream, oh no, he's my grandpa, I can't marry my grandpa. African math is when you as an African man marries a woman with 5 children who is even old enough to be your grandmother. But you refuse to marry an African woman just because she's a single mother. African math is when we Africans refuse.
There's really a stigma with single mothers over here. It gets harder for you. Like the moment you have a child outside wedlock, you know that it's going to be harder for you to get married, because even if you find a man that doesn't mind, his family will mind. I'm not saying they don't get married. I'm just saying there's a stigma. It's kind of harder for single mothers So that makes sense. It's quite sad.
Refuse to buy locally made products because it doesn't have quality, and then we rush to international or imported products because we assume that it has more quality.
So true. We don't even value homegrown and homemade stuff. We don't in Africa.
African Parent Month is having lots of kids in the hope that one of them will become successful enough to take care of you and your other children. African Parent Month is always telling your kids to speak the truth and shame the devil. But then when your kids tells you that they've been touched inappropriately by some uncles or some cousins, you turn around and tell them to shut the fuck up. African Parent Month is giving your children house chores 24/7 to a point where they can't study, and when they ask you for money for school project, you refuse to give them money, and you still expect them to perform very well, and when they don't, you even get mad. African Parent Month is telling everyone that cares to listen that you did not raise your child like that when your child screws up, when you in fact raised your child exactly like that. African Parent Month is telling your girl children to cover up instead of not letting pedophiles into your home. African Parent Month is getting mad at your own children because they were sent home because you haven't paid school fees.
African math is sending thousands of money back home.
African math is being continuously insulted for deciding to give your possessions, which you bought with your own money, to charity rather than to give it to people who you don't know.
Child what? Child what? There's nothing like charity. It's not like we don't give to charity or anything in Africa, but so you mean you want to write in your will like who is going to get your property when you die and everything you own? And instead of it to give it to that uncle that doesn't even care if you're alive, you want to go and give it to charity. They will curse you in your grave. Like our relatives and people in our communities feel entitled to our wealth. So much so that charity is not even an option when it comes to who you're going to leave your belongings to when you pass away.
People who you don't know who come from your village. African math is constantly shouting at your children and expecting them not to develop behavioural issues. African math is telling your parents that you are depressed and then they tell you that you need deliverance.
There's nothing like depressed in an African home. Just try it. Tell your mother, Mommy, I'm depressed.
What do you mean? Depressed for what? Which day did that one start? What does that mean? What is depressing you? Don't I feed you in this house? Don't your father and I clothe you? Do you know how many children are outside? They don't have who is taking care of them. They don't have a roof over their head. We send you to school. We feed you. You are ungrateful child. Go in there and think of what to thank God for your life. In fact, go and do dishes. Go and wash plates. You are eating and sleeping too much in this house. You are privileged. That's why you are becoming depressed. In short, we are going to do fasting and prayer.
They not carry it to the pastor, or maybe on Sunday in church they'll take it to the pastor and said,
Pastor, can you imagine my daughter told me she's depressed? Please talk to her. Oh. I don't know which evil spirit is there. Maybe we need to organize a deliverance session.
So they'll push you to the next Sunday service. African math is leaving your family siblings to discipline you, totally oblivious of the fact that they are envious of you and they do not want to see your children do better than theirs.
Yeah.
African math is expecting your daughters to be well educated and then forcing them to marry any Tom, Dick and Harry because they have money. African math is being negligent and exposing your children to aunties and uncles who potentially could be sexual predators. African math is being told to respect your elders even when they are talking about you in a disrespectful way.
You dare not talk back, and you don't have a say where elders are talking. Even if they are slandering you, they are attacking you, whatever it is, don't talk back.
African math is being told, tell the truth and shame the devil. And when you do, you are told that you are not a child of God.
No, you're not.
African math is expecting you to achieve all the greatest grades and be academically astute without investing the time or money to ensure that you do this. African math is expecting you to become a lawyer, a doctor, or an accountant, fully well knowing that you are not good at any STEM subjects. African math is being labelled as the black sheep because you no longer want to conform to the madness.
African math is sending thousands of money back home for a house to be built only to come back.
Let me to drop a couple of equations to this mathematics. Sorry. African maths is your child correcting you and you insinuating that they want to beat you. African maths is giving someone who's clearly in need of medical treatment rob or aboniki as alternative solution. African maths is threatening your kids with whatever you do to me, your children will do to you, not knowing the flaw in that threat because either I'm just doing.
That used to be my mom's favorite line.
This thing you are doing to me, you these children, your children will do it to you, then you will see how sweet it is.
What you did to your parents, or your theory is complete and utter bullshit. Sorry. African maths has been an amazing person and bundle of joy to everyone and their kids, just everyone, but your own kids. African maths is you can have a fever, diarrhea, headache, even post-surgery. If you dare open your mouth and show down your teeth, you are feeling better. Oh yeah, go and wash the plate quickly. African maths is going to church and exchanging accountability for the devil, because that's a motherfucker you're gonna blame for everything. Sorry. African maths is your dad going to live back in Nigeria for business, but your standard of living still has not improved. African maths is telling your daughter all her life to flee and run from boys at all costs, only to one day ask her where are your grandkids and when is she gonna marry.
African math is sending thousands of money back home for a house to be built only to come back.
African math is sending thousands of dollars back home, but never seeming to have enough for your kids. African math is assuming just because you live in America, you must be rich and well off. African math is never speaking to your child or teaching your child the native language, but getting angry when they don't speak it. African math is growing up with a maid, a cook, and a chauffeur, but also having to clean the entire house by yourself, cook for your entire family, and walking miles and miles to school. African math is telling your kids, especially your daughters, to not talk to boys, look at boys, or date boys, but the minute they graduate, where's your husband? African math is demanding respect, but never giving it. African math is a B student is a lazy A student.
African math is sending thousands of money back home for a...
Oh no, I had to talk about this one. Let's go. African math is being able to quote the Bible back to front, but you're still scared of witchcraft and you won't eat outside food. African math is encouraging your daughters to be great wives, but allowing your sons to just exist. African math is loving Wole Soyinka or Chinua Achebe, but discouraging your children from pursuing a career in the arts. African math is...
As a matter of fact, when I told my dad I wanted to be a makeup artist, I had gone to school. I studied zoology. I was in the sciences. I had actually even taught biology in a secondary school. I was a teacher for about 3 years. And then I decided I wanted to do music and I wanted to do makeup. Ooh, my dad threatened to disown me. So that gives you an idea. We don't really value the arts. And I think that's funny enough, a lot of our people are doing well in the medical field, in the sciences, yeah? But we really don't value the arts. We don't. Yeah, it's just an African thing.
Repeating that children must obey their parents verse in the Bible, only to ignore the verse after it, asking parents not to anger their children. African math is constantly sending money back home, but you haven't painted your walls in your UK home since 2002. African math is knowing how Africa was prospering before colonialism, but still shedding tears for Lilibet. African math is taking money that was specifically meant for your children, these gifts that adults give them, and using it for something completely different. African math is staying and suffering in marriage. And
when someone comes to visit and gives us money at home, my mom says, bring it, let me keep it for you. And then maybe when you want to go and collect it, my mom will say,
for what? What do you want to use the money for? As small as we are, don't I feed you? Okay, all the food I've been giving you, have you ever paid me for it? Come on, get out of here.
That money, you're never seeing that money.
Doing it for the children, only to see that those children in adulthood despise the institution of marriage. You're shocked? You're shocked? African math is refusing to confide in your friends for fear of airing dirty laundry. So instead, you parentify your eldest daughters and put all the burden on them instead. African math is cooking African food, speaking the dialect of wherever you're from in Africa, wearing that nation or that area's clothing, and still turning around and saying that you don't trust Africans. African math is having more than one freezer in the home. I'm gonna stand by that one. I'm sorry, I'm done.
So you guys, this was quite interesting. I believe like every African should be able to relate to those things that they said in those stitches. I personally could relate to like almost every single thing. And if you don't relate to any of them and you're African, you need to ask yourself like, are you a bona fide son of the soil, daughter of the soil? If not, like wait till they happen. Maybe you should go and ask your parents question because like what's up? Anyway, so yeah, this was fun. Let me see if I can add one or two. African math is being the first daughter, knowing that you're going to be the second mom. You're going to have to take responsibility. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot of things for the betterment of your younger ones because they're going to look up to you. Even your parents will look up to you at some point. If unfortunately your parents are not well to do, as the first son or first daughter, just know that it is your job to bring up your younger ones. You're going to send them to school at your own expense. Your parents will probably not even care how you do it. Yeah, if you're the first son, just know that even when you get married, you're going to be paying school fees for your younger ones. Or if you're a man that marries a first daughter and she has younger ones and the parents are not well to do, just know that as you're marrying that woman, you're going to be taking care of her younger ones and probably her parents as well. Like that is the way it works. That's African math. African math is not telling people when you're traveling, you just show up, especially when like my tribe, we travel a lot during December, like for Christmas. We go over to our villages down in the east of Nigeria, the Igbo tribe. So we don't, my mom will be like, don't tell anybody we're coming. We just show up. Why? So that nobody's going to come and use witchcraft and attack you on the road. And we are Christians. So are we supposed to be believing in that? Anyway, funny enough, I still do it till today. Whenever I'm traveling, I don't really tell people except like my family, like my siblings. I don't tell people except them. But anyways, you guys, let me know what you think. If you're an African, please leave in the comment section any African math. Let us just drop our own versions of African math in the comment section. Let's have a conversation. This was definitely fun. I'm going to be doing the Caribbean math and the black math as well, so we can equally just unwind with these videos. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.